That was so extraordinary. I hope that you will have all felt that, I'm sure. And a special thank you to Amin Mahmoud, who worked with Fereshteh to Moussawi, to make this absolutely extraordinary record of those thoughts of Khosrow's friends. So now I'm going to ask Shahrazad Fereshteh to come and speak to us. She is Khosrow's partner. She is a consultant has worked in Tehran and London. She has a postgraduate degree in Islamic history of California, Los Angeles. Writing and ceramics are her two passions, and she will now share her own memories of Khosrow and the life that they shared. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Khosrow seems to be best at explaining himself, but I did think that I'd like to speak about him, and mainly from the perspective of what he meant to me. And then I'm going to end with a couple of verses from a poem, Ahmad Shamlou. It's actually a poem that Khosrow and I recited during his opening night of the show in India. He read the Persian, and I read the English. So, of course, I'm grieving today, because Khosrow and I shared an epic sort of love. And when we met, we sensed that in our shared space, we had finally arrived home. Khosrow celebrated our love, saying, "Ham zabunimo zabune hamu mifahmim." We speak each other's vernacular and understand each other's language. He loved to play with words. For those of us who knew him intimately, Khosrow had an almost ephemeral quality about him. Of course, as has been said over and over, he lived life at 5 times the speed of everyone else. I describe him as an azarakhsh, a shooting star. You got the sense that even if you could catch a ride on that tail for a little while, you were the luckiest person in the world before he would have to leave. We maintained our independence, but each day we would call each other up and jokingly ask, "Bala ya payin," uptown or downtown. Each day we invited each other into our life. But wherever we landed, Khosrow, of course, would arrive and quickly adjust the lighting, brew up his Persian tea with a pinch of lapsang souchong. He would set up his playlist and eagerly make a round of drinks. Then friends who had also asked, "Bala ya payin," would flow into our world. We would read our affairs, play backgammon, dance, watch movies, chat, and listen to Khosrow's stories, which would never grow stale. No matter what was going on, Khosrow would greet everybody with a beaming smile and a large embrace and say, "Baba bikhial dunya do ruze." Hey, take it easy, life is too short. In Khosrow's presence, our troubles would fade away, and our load immediately felt lighter. Of course, Khosrow loved life and made the most of every minute. Knowing that time was of the essence, he was always vying for more time. He was incredibly savvy with numbers. He had an almost intuitive grasp of the cost, the worth, and the value of things. Not just in a financial way. It was his life philosophy. He explained that all things in life carry a cost, a hazineh. You shouldn't expect one without the other. That's how he accepted life's challenges. He relished finding extra value out of life, almost as though he was outsmarting God. If after a great night we stayed up and had a great discussion, read poetry, watched a movie, he didn't count that as one, but 3 extra nights. Every minute split into 2 or 3 was a bonus. So many stolen moments, so many extra bonuses, all so much fun. Of course, Khosrow made light of everything, but he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. He suffered constant blows by his surroundings. In fact, sharing life with Khosrow involved constantly navigating crises. During these periods of sadness and melancholy, we took cover and sheltered from the outside world. Khosrow adored his children and was very committed to his family. He spent a negligible amount of his earnings from his art on himself. Everything that came in would be very quickly distributed to those around him. He couldn't help himself. It was almost as though he didn't feel right keeping any of it for himself. All he did ask for, though, in return was for his personal space and his freedom to create art. And for him, those were non-negotiable. He was tenacious about his work, and when he started a project, he would never stop until tahish dar biyad. He got to the bottom of it and completed it. He worked a full day, and his evening only started until everything was very neatly put away. He was changed and showered and had splashed on his favorite aftershave. But refreshed and satisfied, he was entirely available for what the evening would hold. He drew inspiration from his neighborhood, Nizamabad, in which he lived, of course, his entire life. And he's told me many times that he was happy to have returned to Iran in spite of all the problems. With the Warhol series, which Mohammad Shirvani showed so well, Khosrow was showing his dismay for the consumerism he noticed taking hold in Iranian society. Of course, he chose a Western icon of consumerism to convey his message, but in his usual playfulness, I was always amused, and this was one of the projects that I was intimately involved with. I was always amused at how much the Warhol lighthouse bears an uncanny resemblance to the cluttered window displays of Imam Hussein Square. Khosrow was clearly affected by the recent events in the country. And on our last trip this summer, despite so many pleas for him to stay on, he was anxious to return home to work on a project about celebrating the women, the strong women of Iranian history. He was honoring them in mosaic, in the luxurious style of Byzantine icons. Khosrow venerated women and celebrated femaleness. He had been raised in a household of very strong women, his mother and his sister. As we can see, much of his art depicts his respect for women. He glorifies them as icons or shines a light on them when they're not seen. As any woman who wants to break out of the mold will tell you, it's not easy to keep true to oneself, but Khosrow would not have it any other way. In fact, he insisted on it. He didn't, for instance, want me to be the way that he wanted me to be. He pushed and encouraged me to be the way that I wanted to be. And when I was, he became very proud. In fact, Khosrow expected that of everyone. He believed that every single one of us is born with our own amphitheater in which we're given a single go. It is incumbent upon us to make it our very best performance. This is why Khosrow's dome is one of my favorites of his work, his magnum opus, if you will. The underside of the dome is an inverted gourd of the Zurkhane. It's an inverted wrestling pit. Instead of being in the ground, the pahlavans or wrestlers are up in the heavens looking down at us. The empty stage underneath is our stage. Khosrow is saying that the age of men, of honor, virtue, and valor is over. They have done their work and have left their legacy. It is now up to us to be our own pahlavans and to step into the pit. Let us honor Khosrow, hold our truth, and make the best of every minute we are given. And now for the poem. Common love. Ashk razist, tears are a mystery. Labkhand razist, smiles a mystery. Ishq razist, love a mystery. Ashk on shab labkhand ishqam bud, the tears of that night were the smile of my love. قصه نیستم که بگویی, I'm not a tale to be told. نغمه نیستم که بخوانی, not a song to be sung. صدا نیستم که بشنوی, not a sound to be heard. یا چیزی چنان که ببینی, or something that you can see, یا چیزی چنان که بدانی, or something that you can know. من درد مشترکم, مرا فریاد کن. I am common pain. Cry me out.
Thank you, Shahrukh. Thank you, Shahzad. Thank you so much for these beautiful words. And now, Vali, please come and just round it all off for us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Venetia, and everybody else who's spoken today. It's an absolute honor to be here, a very, very sad honor to be here to round off the evening in remembering Khosrow Hassanzadeh. I made notes as everybody else spoke about Khosrow. I'm not going to make any presentation, but just very much sum up what we have heard and has been shared today about Khosrow. A life force, these are the things I've made notes of. Anybody who met Khosrow would know and would remember that he was absolutely a life force, a very, very vital energy of life, and also, as was said today, much bigger than life. Audacious, I think, tenacious, candid, a man close to the very pulse of life and to the pulse of the street, as we've seen and heard from his own voice. Embracing life, I think, very much as it is, day by day, and very close to the ground. I think of Khosrow as very grounded in reality. I noted his awareness of mortality, his absolute and honest sensitivity to pain and to struggle. And as we had in the poem just read by Shahrzad, the common pain. Never indifferent, it's another note that I made. And he used all that he had to create exactly that sort of world and to be a vitrine, a very honest. I think it's a very important thing, the authentic and the honest vitrine that he created onto his own life and by extension onto the life of others. And often the very voiceless others. We have to remember, of course, in that vitality, the humor, the wit, the very, very deep and contagious joy, and also in his own awareness in somehow not only painting reality, but perhaps absurdity as much as reality. Color, I think we can all agree, is absolutely his strength and his means to his dreams. I think we can all really celebrate him as a dreamer, a very powerful dreamer. And I just made a note that he was very much, I think, in the zeitgeist. When we look at his practice, his words, hear his words, and look at the histories that he depicts, very much in and of the zeitgeist. And I thought, in some ways, perhaps, a constructor also of the zeitgeist. I think he and himself are very much connected to what we would call the very human condition. And I was thinking perhaps a very deep sense of justice underneath the humor, underneath the evasiveness, the absurdities, and his ability to juggle reality with a sense of acceptance is also perhaps a very deep sense of justice. And I think for his passions and for his thoughts, we can give just a moment of silence at the end of this incredible day of remembering Khosrow, just to remember him as a man and a vital force and an artist that he was and what he gave to the sensibility of being Iranian. And I want to also say something about how personally dreadful I feel about the way that he was taken away, because he was also taken away in what we live in Iran today. He wasn't the only person who was taken away in the way he was taken away. There were others, I think there are hundreds of others actually, who've suffered the same fate at the hands of what goes on in our country, where you can't enjoy a glass of alcohol with your friends. He died for the basic need and the basic desire to just be and be in joy and be with his friends. I think after we remember all that, we should definitely make many toasts to Khosrow, because that's what I'm sure that's what he would want, and that's what Shahrzad would want. And we should dance, and we should be merry, and we should absolutely celebrate, I think, the merriest of people in spite of all his own struggles and all his huge, huge life effort to be as big as he can be and perform, as Shahrzad say, in the best way he can. Let's celebrate Khosrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you to our absolutely wonderful speakers, the ones who are here and the ones who are in Tehran. It's been the most extraordinary, uplifting day, and it is definitely time to go and celebrate outside. So a huge thank you to you, Shirley, to the Magic of Persia team, to my colleagues at the British Museum, to everyone here. And please, let's take away the joie de vivre that Khosrow had. Thank you all so much.